Hello, this is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with an absolutely terrific box for people who like interesting, unusual, creative, imaginative repertoire choices by a conductor who was kind of a specialist in things like that, at least 20th century music. That is the Michael Gielen edition, Volume 7. Now, I happen to think that Michael Gielen was really the conductor that Pierre Boulez should have been, but never quite got to. You know what I mean? He was a hardcore, avant-garde, modern music, 20th century guy who believed that life was ugly and horrible and music should be as ugly and horrible as life. And you have to admire that. Well, more or less. That might be an oversimplification. But the fact was, he was an absolutely terrific conductor, whatever his rationale for it. And the Gielen edition has been wonderful. Now, there are 7 volumes of it so far, as you probably figured out from this being Volume 7. And he's already done, he's done Mahler, and he's done Bruckner, and he's done the Second Viennese School, and some other stuff. But this set is the most interesting of all. It's got 8 CDs of fascinating repertoire that he explored in the course of his career. These are all recordings that date from 1961 through 2006. Now, they're German radio recordings. They're mostly in very good sound, not all of them, but mostly pretty good. And I just want to go through them disc by disc, all 8, because we've been dealing with 8 disc boxes and ignoring this SWR release, which may be the most important of all. Sure, you could have a Bono and Boulez and Jarvi and Bernstein and all that, but Michael Gielen is one of your guys. He's got to be. He's a fascinating, creative, and interpretive mind. And this set, wait till you hear what's in here. This is going to blow your mind. I guarantee it. So let's start. Disc number 1, Janáček Glagolitic Mass. Remember that? He did a very good one. The recording was a little schwimmend, as they say, auf Deutsch, a little swimmy. But the performance itself is exciting. And one of you pointed out in the Glagolitic Mass video in the comments that he did do some terrific screamy trumpets. And I mean, Gielen was never afraid of making an ugly sound, as I'm sure you know. In fact, he loved them. So all the bumpy, warty parts of Janáček, he just nails them. So that's exciting. And then Taras Bulba, which is terrific. And then Zemlinsky Psalm 23. Opus 14. I mean, Zemlinsky. Next, Disc 2, America. No, not that America. Unfortunately, it's not the West Side Story America. It's Ruggles, Sun Treader, Charles Ives, Central Park in the Dark, and then General William Booth Enters into Heaven by Ives, which is done, I think it's done in English. I forgot. I listened to it just recently, but it's, General William Booth, Willkommen ins Himmel. Let's just call it that. Who cares, right? Now, it's an arrangement, and it's wonderful for, chorus and orchestra and soloist. And then Colin McPhee's Taboo Taboo Hand. What could be bad, right? Charles Ives, The Unanswered Question again, and then Edgar Varèse, Arcana, and the Ruggles and the Varèse are first releases. So some of these are. And then Edward Steuermann's Variations for Orchestra, which sound about what you'd expect Edward Steuermann's Variations for Orchestra to sound like. Yes. Disc number 3 is Debussy. You get the complete martyrdom of Saint Sebastian, all of it, the whole martyrdom, and listening to it is 52 minutes long of martyrdom, and but it's there. And the nocturnes, which is pretty cool, huh? Then we have music of transition. It's transitioning. Trans music. Here we are. Busoni, the Berceuse Elegiaque, and then the Nocturne Symphonique, and the Sarabande et Cortège, And that's transitional if ever there was a transition, right? And then the Max Reger Piano Concerto, and it only takes 41 minutes. That means it's definitely one of the better versions. It's sort of closer to Serkin's in timing than these other people who spend a week and a half playing this concerto. Now, I personally think that the Max Reger Concerto is one of the most horrible things ever written for the piano. It's interminable. But when Serkin plays it, it's quite listenable, and this is pretty listenable too. Next, On the Way to Consolidation. Don't you just love it when things are consolidated? I mean, what could be better than consolidation? And what is On the Way to Consolidation? Let's find out. Oh my God, the Schreker Prelude to a Drama. God, I mean, he was the only guy in the world who's recorded it twice. Remember, he did the first one for Koch Schwann, and now there was this one that was on Hensler. What a gorgeous piece that is, isn't it? It's actually the overture, at least the first half of it, to the opera Die Gezeichneten. You know, but it's like yeah da 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 do 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 do. It's marvelous, marvelous. Hindemith's Mathis der Mahler. What could be bad? Very good performance of that. And Joe Fredo Petrassi's Concerto for Orchestra number 1. Remember that? We just talked about it. It was on the Eloquence Italian Music twofer. And, you know, with Previtali and Nello Santi. That's, you know, now you can compare your Petrassis. This is also a very good performance of that work. So that's great. And then we get, kitsch or art on TV. Gielen had a thing about kitsch. He claimed to always be able to identify it, but he still liked to conduct it. You know, it was like the Supreme Court justice said about porn, you know, I may not be able to define it, but I know it when I see it. Well, Gielen felt that way about kitsch. So what is the kitsch? We get excerpts from Der Rosenkavalier, which is fascinating. And then we get Puccini, arias and duets from Madame Butterfly. Oh, haven't you always wanted to hear Michael Gielen conduct Puccini? No wonder he thought it was kitsch or art on TV. I don't know where the TV part comes in. And then you get 2 songs from Wagner's Wesendonck Lieder, which I think are kitsch. I have no question about that. Then Strauss's Wiegenlied. And finally, first release, Strauss's Death and Transfiguration. I don't think the music is kitsch. I think the stupid poem that came with it after he wrote it, that's kitsch for sure. But this performance is 27 minutes and 50 seconds long, which is really slow. If you know your Death and Transfigurations, usually they last 23, 25. Okay. Next we get Ravel. Now, Gielen was never much of a Ravel conductor, with one exception, which we will come to momentarily. Daphnis and Chloe, first of all. Now, this is also, it's 57 minutes and you know, something. It's very leisurely, shall we say, and rather tubbily recorded, too, as I recall. It's not the most brilliant sonic thing. But then you get Embarque sur l'Océan, which is nice to have, and Alborada del Gracioso, which... or Alborada del Gracioso, del Gracio, I don't know how he pronounces it. I don't care. It's Michael Gielen doing it. And finally, we get the Valse Noble et Sentimentale, which is nice to have, and Scriabin's Third Symphony, Le Divin Poème. Talk about kitsch. Boy, it should have been on the other disc, right? Except that it's 45 minutes long. And finally, La Valse. Now that, of course, was a Gielen specialty because he was the ultimate, you know, nihilism and total atomic destruction conductor, and La Valse is total nihilism and atomic destruction, and he always did that well. So, I mean, really, when you get right down to it here, this is 8 fantastic discs of Gielen doing fascinating repertoire, amazing repertoire. So, you know, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't have this box if you're collecting this sort of thing. It's one of the best boxes dedicated to a conductor that I've seen in a long, long, long time. So keep on listening to Michael Gielen, and thank you.